पूरा उपनिषद दिया लेकर आगे चलता है और एक एक इंच रास्ते पर प्रकाश पड़ने लगता है, अंधेरा कटने लगता है। फिर जाके वो खड़ा हो जाता है रस्सी के सामने ही। आपको सांप दिखाई पड़ता जाता है, लेकिन वो कहता है कि देखो सांप कहाँ है, ये पूंछ नहीं है, ये रस्सी है, ये धड़ नहीं है, ये रस्सी है, ये फन नहीं है, ये रस्सी है। ये पूरा का पूरा इतना ही है सारा चर्चा कि मैं ये नहीं हूं, मैं ये नहीं हूं, मैं ये नहीं हूं। ये सांप काटा जा रहा है। जब मैं बिल्कुल कट जाता है, रस्सी शेष रह जाती है, तो वो गुरु पूछता है, अब मैं तुमसे पूछता हूं, सांप को कैसे मारे, किस सांप को मारे? और अगर सांप नहीं है तो तलवार काटेगी क्या? और अगर सांप नहीं है तो मैं तुम्हें क्या सलाह दूं कि बचो कैसे? अब तुम ही मुझे बताओ। और इस प्रश्न पर उपनिषद पूरा हो जाता है और इस प्रकार यह उपनिषद समाप्त। और शिष्य की तरफ से एक भी उत्तर नहीं है। अब शिष्य को कुछ तो कहना चाहिए, कम से कम धन्यवाद, कम से कम आभार, कम से कम कहना चाहिए कि बलिहारी गुरु आपकी। कुछ तो कहना चाहिए, लेकिन शिष्य बिल्कुल चुप है। शिष्य चुप है क्योंकि एक अर्थ में शिष्य मिट गया है, बोलने योग्य भी नहीं बचा है। ये सांप ही नहीं कटा, इस कटने में शिष्य भी कट गया है। वो आदमी जो पूछता आया हुआ था अब नहीं, वो मन जो पूछता आया था अब नहीं, वो अहंकार जिसके पास प्रश्न थे और उत्तर की तलाश थी वो अब नहीं। असल में जो आया था वो अब नहीं है और अब जो है वो कभी भी नहीं था। कौन दे धन्यवाद? किसको दे धन्यवाद? उत्तर भी क्या? ज़ैन फकीर लिंची कहा करता था अपने शिष्यों से कि अगर तुमने मेरे प्रश्न का जवाब न दिया तो भी ये डंडा तुम्हारे सिर पर पड़ेगा, और अगर तुमने जवाब दिया तो भी। निश्चित ही मुश्किल हो जाती होगी, क्योंकि एक कोई उपाय ही नहीं बचा। और लिंची शिष्यों से सवाल पूछा करता था। लिंची का रिवाज ये था कि वो कहता था कि तुम मुझसे सवाल तभी पूछ सकोगे जब तुम मेरे जवाब दो, ये शर्त थी। गुरु शिष्य से कहता था कि पहले तुम मेरे सवाल का जवाब दो, तब मैं तुम्हें जवाब दूंगा। और शर्त ये थी कि डंडा उसके हाथ में होता था लिंची के, और वो कहता था अगर तुमने जवाब दिया तो मैं मारूंगा ही, अगर नहीं दिया तो भी मारूंगा। अक्सर लोग भाग जाते थे, लेकिन जो जानते थे वो रुक भी जाते थे। जब पहली दफा बोकुजू से मिलने गया तो बोकुजू ने कहा कि ऐसा करो, सवाल जवाब पीछे हो लेंगे, पहले डंडा मार लो, क्योंकि इस काम से निपट जाएं। इससे इसमें अड़चन पड़ेगी और नाहक इसमें उलझाव बना रहेगा। इससे हम पहले निपट लें, ये सरल काम है, सवाल जवाब बहुत कठिन है। पहले डंडा मार लो, ये रहा मेरा सिर। लिंची ने कहा वो आदमी आ गया, अब मैं तुझसे नहीं पूछूंगा, तू मुझसे पूछ सकता है। पूछना अगर कुतूहल है तब तो एक बात है, मूल्य की नहीं है वो। पूछना अगर जिज्ञासा है तो दांव है, और दांव बड़ा है, क्योंकि ऐसे सवाल पूछना कि बंधन क्या है और मोक्ष क्या है, जीवन को दांव पे लगाने के सवाल। तो जब गुरु ने आखिर में पूछा है, सब मिटाकर, सब पोंछ डाली, स्लेट पूरी, जरा एक अक्षर बचने ना दिया, ज्ञान भी ना बच जाए, तो आखिर में उसको भी पहुंचा और कहा कि वेद भी वहां नहीं जाते हैं। सब तरफ मिटा डाला, राख कर दिया, जलाकर दग्ध कर दिया बीज को पूरा। और अब गुरु पूछता है कि कैसा बंधन, कौन बंधेगा, कैसा मोक्ष? कोई बंधा ही नहीं कभी, तो मुक्ति कैसी? अगर शिष्य बोल जाता धन्यवाद भी, तो फिर से उपनिषद शुरू करना पड़ता, क्योंकि उसका मतलब था भला सांप मिट गया हो, लेकिन शिष्य अभी नहीं मिटा है, अभी बोल सकता है, अभी इतना कह सकता है कि बड़ी कृपा है आपकी, सब समझा दिया, सब समझ गया, ज्ञान को मैं उपलब्ध हो गया। जिस गुरु के पास से आप ज्ञानी होकर लौट आए, उस गुरु के पास जाना बेकार हो गया। जिस गुरु के पास जाकर आप मिटे, लौट ही ना पाए, तो ही जाना सार्थक है। धर्म मिटने की कला है, अपने ही हाथ अपने को बुझा लेने का विज्ञान है। जिसे दिए में कोई फूंक मार दे और ज्योति खो जाए, ऐसा ही हमारी अस्मिता, हमारा अहंकार खो जाए, खोजे से ना मिले, फिर कहीं निपट शून्य रह जाए, पीछे रिक्त, खाली। उस खाली और रिक्त में ही उसका दर्शन होता है, जो वस्तुतः हमारा होना है। इसलिए अंतिम बात है, इस प्रकार का यह रहस्य है, इस प्रकार का यह रहस्य समाप्त हुआ, इस प्रकार यह उपनिषद पूरा होता है। उपनिषद का अर्थ होता है रहस्य। उपनिषद का अर्थ होता है रहस्य। रहस्य का अर्थ होता है जिसे हम समझ भी लें तो भी समझ में नहीं आता, और जिसे हम ना भी समझे हुए हों तो समझ में आता हुआ मालूम पड़ता है। रहस्य का मतलब यह होता है, जो नहीं समझते वे भ्रांति में पड़ जाते हैं कि समझा, और जो समझते हैं उनको पता चलता है कि कहां समझे। रहस्य का यह अर्थ होता है। अगर कोई चीज समझने से समझ में आ जाए तो रहस्य नहीं है, अगर कोई चीज न समझने से न समझ में आए तो भी रहस्य नहीं। रहस्य का अर्थ होता है, जो नहीं जानते उनको लगता है कि जानते हैं, और जो जानते हैं उनको लगता है कहां जानते हैं। सुकरात ने कहा है जीवन के अंतिम दिनों में कि जब तक नहीं जानते थे तभी तक अच्छा था, कम से कम जानने का भ्रम तो था। अब और बड़ी मुश्किल हो गई है, जब से जाना है तब से इस मुसीबत में पड़े कि जानते ही कहां है। इसका नाम है रहस्य। डेल्फी की देवी ने घोषणा कर दी थी कि सुकरात महाज्ञानी है यूनान में। तो जिन लोगों ने घोषणा सुनी भागे हुए सुकरात के पास गए और कहा कि सुकरात सुनते हो, डेल्फी की देवी ने घोषणा की है कि सुकरात महाज्ञानी है। सुकरात ने कहा कि देवी ने थोड़ी देर कर दी, जब हम थे तब कोई कहने ना आया, जब हम थे वक्त हम ज्ञानी थे तब किसी ने घोषणा न की, तब हम खुद ही घोषणा करते सकते थे। और अब जबकि पता चला कि कुछ भी नहीं जानते हैं, तब उस देवी को सूझा जरूर कहीं कोई भूल हो गई, तुम फिर से जाके पूछा। ये लोग वापस गए, एक अर्थ में प्रसन्न गए, क्योंकि सुकरात ज्ञानी है, इससे मन को बड़ी पीड़ा हुई थी। अगर सुकरात कहता कि हाँ मैं ज्ञानी हूं तो वे इतना भरोसा ना करते, लेकिन सुकरात ने कहा मैं परम अज्ञानी हूं। उन्होंने कहा यही ठीक कहता होगा, देवी से कोई भूल हो गई होगी। वापस देवी से जाके उन्होंने पूछा कि कुछ भूल हो गई मालूम होता। देवी ने कहा कि मुझसे भूल होती ही नहीं। उन्होंने कहा जरूर हो गई होगी, क्योंकि खुद सुकरात ही कहता है कि मैं बिल्कुल अज्ञानी हूं। देवी ने कहा इसीलिए तो उसको महाज्ञानी होने की मैंने घोषणा की, इसीलिए यही तो कारणीभूत है। जब तक वो ज्ञानी था तब तक मैं घोषणा नहीं कर सकती थी। इसका नाम रहस्य। उपनिषद का अर्थ होता है रहस्य। ऐसे उपनिषद शब्द का अर्थ होता है जो गुरु के पास बैठकर जाना गया। गुरु के पास बैठकर जाना गया। गुरु से सुनकर नहीं, गुरु के पास बैठकर। क्योंकि सुनकर तो शब्द ही मिलते हैं, लेकिन पास बैठकर कुछ और भी मिल जाता है। लेकिन पास बैठने की एक कला है। सुनना बहुत आसान, पास बैठना बहुत मुश्किल है। उपनिषद शब्द का अर्थ होता है गुरु के पास बैठकर जो मिला। सिर्फ पास बैठकर, उसके सन्निकटता में, उसके सामीप्य में, उसके प्रति समर्पण में, उसके प्रेम में, उसके पास मिटकर, उसके पास अपने को भूलकर जो मिला। इसलिए वस्तुतः गुरु जो कहता है वह महत्वपूर्ण नहीं। गुरु जो होता है वही महत्वपूर्ण है, क्योंकि जो कहता है वो सुना जाता है और जो होता है उसके पास बैठा जाता है। गुरुजीएफ के साथ ऐसा निरंतर होता था कि गुरुजीएफ के पास कोई शिष्य बैठा है, वो उसको ऐसे क्रोध से देखेगा कि छाती में हड़कंप हो जाए। अनेक शिष्य भाग जाते थे गुरुजीएफ के पास, और वो कुशल था बहुत, इतना कुशल था। जो लोग उसे निकट से जानते रहे हैं वो कहते हैं कि वो इतना कुशल था कि इस तरफ बैठे आदमी को क्रोध बता सकता था एक आंख वाले हिस्से से, इस तरफ वाले आदमी को प्रेम बता सकता था। और दोनों आदमियों में पीछे विवाद हो जाता था कि ये आदमी कैसा है। वो एक आदमी कहता है इतना प्रेमी, और उसकी आंख से बिल्कुल प्रेम झर रहा था, और दूसरा आदमी कहता तुम पागल हो गए, मैं भी मौजूद था और मैंने उसकी आंख में सिवाय दुष्टता के और कुछ भी नहीं देखा। पश्चिम के एक बहुत विचारशील आदमी एलन वाट ने तो उससे रेस्कल सेंट कहा है गुरुजीएफ को, शैतान संत। लेकिन गुरुजीएफ अद्भुत आदमी था, और साधारण संत होना बहुत आसान मामला है, साधारण शैतान होना भी बहुत आसान मामला है। लेकिन जो उसे जानते थे, जो उसके पास बैठे थे, वो निरंतर लोगों से कहते थे वो क्या करता है, क्या बोलता है, कैसी आंख करता है, इसकी तुम फिक्र ही मत करना, तुम तो उसके पास ही होने की फिक्र करना। वो क्या कहता है, आंख से कि शब्द से कि चेहरे से, उसकी तुम फिक्र ही मत करना, क्योंकि उससे अगर कुछ सीखना हो तो उसके पास होना ही पर्याप्त है। सिर्फ पास होना, और तुम उसकी अभिव्यक्ति का ध्यान मत देना कि वो क्या कह रहा है, कि गाली बक रहा है, कि क्रोध दिखला रहा है, कि प्रेम दिखला रहा है। तुम इसकी फिक्र ही मत करना। ये तरकीबें हैं उसकी, इनसे वो जांच लगा लेता है कि तुम सुनने आए हो कि पास होने आए हो, निकट होने आए हो कि सुनने समझने आए हो। सुनने समझने आए हो तो वो विदा कर देता है, क्योंकि वो कहता है वो जो सुनने समझने आया है वो ज्यादा दूर नहीं जा सकता, पास होना चाहिए। एक इंटीमेसी, एक सामीप्य, एक निकटता। उस निकटता में चेतना एक दूसरे में आर पार प्रवेश करने लगती। बीच के द्वार खुल जाते हैं सामीप्य में, और चेतना एक से दूसरे में आने जाने लगती है। और जिस दिन ये चेतना का प्रवाह भीतर होने लगता है, उस दिन उपनिषद घटित होता है। उस दिन उसके पहले नहीं। Now the last assertion, the last thing to be said. The Rishi says, knowledge must cease. Because only then knowing is possible. Knowledge means the dead accumulation of experiences of your own or of others. But knowledge means the dead past. Knowledge is always of the past. Knowing is always here and now. And knowledge is always of the past. The past must cease for the present to be. And knowledge must cease for the knowing to be. Knowing is alive. Knowledge is dead. So really, knowledge is not a help towards knowing. On the contrary, knowledge is the hindrance, the obstacle. The more you know, the more you accumulate information, the less is your capacity of knowing. That's why the capacity of children to learn is more, because they are fresh. Knowledge is not there as a barrier for their knowing. Their knowing is fresh. The old man cannot learn so much, not because the consciousness is not capable to learn, but because the consciousness is so much burdened with knowledge that that burden itself becomes a hindrance. Knowledge creates a barrier and destroys the capacity to know. All knowledge, whatsoever its nature, is a burden. So the Rishi says, knowledge must cease for the knowing to be. And the knowing, and this knowing can happen only in total innocence. Knowledge is cunning. Knowledge can never be innocent. So the more knowledge grows in the world, the more cunning, the more cunningness comes into existence. Why? Because the more you know, the less you begin to be spontaneous and calculating. And the more you calculate, the less you are conscious and more mechanical. Really, calculators can do more calculations and in a better way and more efficiently than you. Soon, computers will replace man, because they can accumulate more knowledge and in a better way. Our own brains are also doing the same. The Rishi says the Veda cannot reach to that supreme consciousness, Brahma, because Veda means all accumulated knowledge. So in India, we have created a very strange word, Vedant. It means end of the Vedas. Just going beyond the Vedas, just throwing Vedas far away, just being unburdened by the Vedas. Veda means knowledge, and Vedant means beyond knowledge. So in the end, the Rishi says, now understand one thing, and this is one of the ultimates, that by knowledge you will never be able to know. To know the being. Because being is always prior to knowledge. We discussed that being is prior to doing. Now the Rishi says being is prior to knowledge also. You are before you know. Being precedes knowing, knowledge, doing everything. That which precedes knowing cannot be known by knowledge. That which precedes doing cannot be reached by any doing whatsoever. So the mystics say, reach there by non-doing, know that, but by not knowing. These become very contradictory statements. That's why they are called mystic. Mystic statements are absolutely illogical. But not meaningless. Rather, because they are illogical, they carry more meaning, more dynamic meaning. Mystic statements are not just mad statements. They appear. But they are the most sanest possible. When the Rishi says you cannot know by knowledge, he means that knowledge is always concerned with something else, never with you. My eye cannot see itself. Why? When the eyes can see everything else, why not themselves? Of course, I can see my eyes into a mirror, but there is not really seeing eyes themselves. Just a reflection, and the reflection becomes something else. The same is the phenomena inside. The being can know by knowledge everything else than itself. Knowledge is just an opening, an eye towards the whole world. Really, this will be very significant to be understood. The word science means exactly what Veda means. The word science exactly means what Veda means. Knowledge. We can put it in a very modern terminology that by science you can never know the being. Because science means knowledge, systematized knowledge. So how you can know it? If knowledge itself cannot know it, then how? If eyes cannot see a thing, and it is impossible to see them by your eyes, then what to do? The only one possibility, and you may not be able just to remember it. If eyes cannot see a particular thing, then close your eyes and see. That's the only alternative possible. If it is not possible at all to see by eyes, then close them and see. If knowledge cannot know the innermost being, then throw knowledge and know. This is what Vedanta means, throwing away knowledge. Because it is felt that by knowledge we cannot know the knower. Then throw it. Then don't carry it, because it may prove a hindrance. Just throw it. Just put it aside, as if you are putting your clothes off. Put your knowledge off and be without knowledge. Be without knowledge. In that innocent moment of not knowing, one happens to be there where one has always been. Is just thrown to the centers. Suddenly the periphery disappears. Suddenly you are not whatsoever you have been, and you are something which you have never known to be. This is the secret. So the Rishi says, this is the secret. By not knowing is that known. He is not saying by ignorance. Ignorance is not knowing. Ignorance is just absence. Absence of knowledge. Not knowing is cessation of knowledge, not just absence. So there are three steps: ignorance, knowledge, and supreme ignorance. You may call it supreme knowledge, or you may call it supreme ignorance. It means the same. It is supreme because it is beyond both, knowing and not knowing. This is the secret of all secrets. Upanishad, the very word Upanishad means the secret doctrine. The secret doctrine. Why to call it secret? If you are going to call it a doctrine, if it is a doctrine, it cannot be secret. If it is secret, it cannot be a doctrine. So why to call it a secret doctrine? Why to use two contradictory words? The mystics have always felt that the moment you use one word without using at the same time the contradictory one, you divide life. And life exists in contradiction. The negative and the positive of electricity, they exist in a deep communion. The male psyche and the female psyche, they exist in a deep communion. The darkness and the light, we may think them contradictions, opposites, polar opposites, but they exist in a deep communion. Have you ever seen any fight between darkness and light? Have there been ever any war between darkness and light? They coexist. They coexist so silently. Really, there is no contradiction in existence. All contradictions are created by our mind, because we can look at a thing from a standpoint alone. We can never look the thing as it is in its wholeness. Even a very small thing, just a pebble. You cannot look the pebble from all sides simultaneously. The other side always remains in darkness. But the pebble is one. For you it is always an aspect that is known, and the remaining begins to be another aspect. But you can never know both simultaneously, but the pebble exists simultaneously. Darkness and light are just two aspects of one thing. Birth and death, two aspects of one thing. That's why Upanishads are called the secret doctrine. Secret and open, same time, simultaneously, because doctrine means open, a known thing, and secret means something unknown. So it is better to call it an open secret. It is open for everyone, but it is a secret, because even if you know it, you can never claim the knowledge. By very knowing, the claimer is dissolved. Socrates says, when I was ignorant, I thought myself to be wise. And now, when I have known, I know nothing else than ignorance. This is the essence of all mysticism. The polar opposites exist in a dynamic unity. And by this statement, that even knowledge is not I. Everything else than pure being is negated. And then the Rishi asks the same question he was asked in the beginning. He has not answered it. Really, he has not answered it. He was asked what is bondage and what is freedom. He has not answered. He has answered many things which were not asked. He has gone deep in many dimensions. He has discussed and analyzed everything that is needed for a seeker, but he has not discussed bondage and freedom. And now in the end he asks the disciple, now tell me, who is there to be in bondage? Where bondage can exist, because we have dissolved the ego. If the ego is there, bondage is possible. If the ego is not there, who can be in bondage? And how bondage can happen? To whom it can happen? And if there is no bondage, then what do you mean by freedom? On this question, the Upanishad ends. This is a strange book. A question has been raised in the beginning, an inquiry has been made. What is bondage? What is freedom? And on the same question, the inquiry ends. What is bondage? Who is in bondage? Who can be in bondage? How bondage can happen? And what do you mean by freedom? Who is going to be free? Who is the agent to whom bondage and freedom can happen? What type of a book? Answering nothing. And the question comes back. But now, the quality of the question has totally changed. The question was asked in the beginning by the disciple, now it is asked by the master. And the disciple was asking in ignorance, and the master is asking in supreme knowledge. The disciple asked because he didn't know. The master is asking because he knows. Really, he is saying, you have asked absurdities. Your question was irrelevant. It was not a question at all. Only because the form of it was of a question, it doesn't become a question. You can ask anything, and it may look grammatically right, linguistically exact, and it may not be a question at all. There are many questions. Human mind goes on asking without knowing the fact that those questions are just absurd. They cannot be answered because really nothing exists in reality corresponding to them. The disciple asks, what is bondage? One thing is implied. There is someone who can be in bondage. That has been not questioned at all. He asks, what is bondage? With an implication taken for granted that bondage is possible and someone can be in bondage and someone exists who can be in bondage. That has been taken for granted. That has not been asked at all. It has been accepted and assumed that there is bondage. Then he asks, what is freedom and how to be free? Then you can go on asking. But the basic assumption is false, pseudo. There is no one inside who can be in bondage. Really, if you don't ask the basic question that is there someone inside who can be in bondage, if you miss the first basic question, you may ask, and many answers can be given to you, but no answer will be an answer, and no answer will satisfy you, because the basic question has not been asked. These questions are secondary. The Rishi goes on talking about things which raise the basic question again and again. And then he goes on dissolving the basic factors upon which bondage can happen and freedom also. Then ultimately, when the agent is no more, when the doer is no more, when the knower is no more, when the ego is no more, when the center is just dissolved, in that very moment, in the total silence and egolessness, when the Guru sees, when the Master looks in the eyes of the disciple and feels now there is no one inside but total silence, nothingness, or pure being, then he asks. He must have penetrated deep into the eyes of the disciple and should have asked, now tell me, who can be in bondage? And for whom you are asking freedom. And the book becomes still more strange because the disciple remains silent. This is the last. Here, the secret doctrine ends with a question mark. The Master has asked, and the disciple has not even nodded the head. He has not said anything, not even a thanks. He remains just silent, as if he is not. The disciple has disappeared. And this disappearance is the real essence of disciplehood. The disciple has disappeared. When the disciple has disappeared, only then the Master can ask. This disappearance of the disciple this total evaporation is the answer. No verbal answer has been given, but an existential answer has been conveyed. Now the disciple knows, but the disciple is not. That's why the teacher asks. The question is raised not because any answer is expected. The question is raised only to know whether still there is someone who reacts. But there is no reaction. The question just echoes in the disciple and disappears. This is the answer from the disciples. They have come to the end of their journey for which they prayed. They prayed to the divine, to the gods, help us. Help us both in our common endeavors, in our common efforts. This is going to be a deep communion. So help us. Teacher and taught both, the master and disciple both, help us both so that we may endeavor and find out the truth. The truth has appeared, but only when the disciple disappears. And the master has never been there. So there is no problem, no nothing for him to disappear. He has not been. The master means one who has disappeared already. The disciple means one who has to disappear. When the disciple also disappears, there is neither master nor disciple. And then exists that which we once called I, then thou, then that, and then even beyond that. There is a tradition in Tibetan Buddhism. When the disciple disappears, the master puts his head into his feet, into disciple's feet. The circle becomes complete. Because now there is no disciple. In a way, only the master. And by master I mean one who has disappeared. And you can be two if you are, but if you have disappeared, you cannot be two. We are here so many, because we are. If we all disappear, and there are so many nothingnnesses, will there be so many nothingnnesses? Nothingness is bound to be one. How can you count absences? You can count only presences. Absence is always one. You can count egos. You cannot count consciousnesses. There is no way to count egolessnesses, nothingnesses, absences. In this moment, who is the master and who is the disciple? The both have disappeared. This disappearance of master and disciple is the culmination, is the climax, is the peak of communion, of love, of intimacy. Neither husband and wife, nor mother and son, nor brothers, nor friends can come to this disappearance. Only a master and disciple relationship can come to this highest peak of non-existence, of dissolving one into another. That's why in the East, nothing was more sacred than this relationship of a master and a disciple. Nothing was more sacred. Nothing whatsoever. No love was higher than that. It cannot be. Because in any other love and intimacy, you never disappear. You remain, and you continue to remain. And that continuity of your presences becomes a constant conflict, a continuous misery and anguish. Love fulfills itself, becomes a perfect flower into a relationship between two, of whom one has already disappeared and the other is ready to disappear. Only then. In all other relationships, both are present, too much present. And each one is trying to be more and more present. Of course, they also try for others' disappearance. But that disappearance is different. And both try that the other should disappear. And I should be complete, totally the master of the whole. And both are trying, so there is conflict. A master is one who has disappeared already, so there is no question of his domination. He is not. And the other has come to him not to possess him, but to be dispossessed of oneself. Really, that's the reason why when the master says something, it has to be obeyed. Not that it is a master's domination. On the contrary, because the master cannot dominate, he is not, so his order becomes just the order from the source of all being. There is no ego, so there is no question of domination. Again the paradox. A guru cannot dominate, so he dominates totally. We try to understand, to discuss, to analyze something which cannot be discussed, cannot be analyzed. But we discuss and analyze in order that whatsoever I say may not be meaningful, but the way I say it and the way I convey it to you may be meaningful. Not my words, but the silences between words may become glimpses to you. This is just beating around the bush. Because the bush cannot be beaten directly. The truth cannot be indicated directly, so round about and round about, I have been beating the bush in the hope it may be, perhaps, just by going around and around the bush, you may have a glimpse of the bush itself. And that's why I'm more emphatically interested in meditation than in discussions. These discussions are just to give you a push, to satisfy you in an intellectual way, just to give you a feeling that whatsoever you are doing is very intellectual, rational. It is not. So whatsoever I have been saying is in a way quite the opposite than whatsoever I have been trying you to pull in. My approach as far as these discussions were concerned was rational, just to satisfy you, just to give you some toys to play with, so that you can be persuaded for something else. That something else is not rational. That is irrational. Someone came to me and said, he is new here. He has just come only 2 days before. And he is not acquainted with the Eastern mind at all. He is from the West. So he came to me and said, I am bewildered because whatsoever you are saying and whatsoever is being done in meditation, there seems to be no connection at all. I said to him, of course, there is no connection. But still there is. But that is very indirect. I try to pacify your mind just to help you jump out of it. I go on rationalizing things, talking logically, arguing about, only in order so that your argumentative mind is just exhausted and you can take a jump out of all nonsense that is called rationality. So our meditation has been just a jump into irrational existence. And existence is irrational. It is mystic. It is a mystery. So please don't cling whatsoever I have said to you. Rather cling whatsoever I have persuaded you to do. Do it, and someday you will realize that whatsoever I have said is meaningful. But if you go on clinging with whatsoever I have said, it may give you knowledge. It may make you more knowledgeable, but you will not attain to knowing. And even whatsoever I have said may become a hindrance. I don't know. I may have helped you in creating a hindrance. I don't know. It depends on you.